Good morning to all of you. Today we are going to discuss about the meteorology and transport of air pollution. In the last class, we have discussed about air pollutants, different types of the sources or properties of air pollutants. And today we will see what is the meteorological parameters that will help the transportation of air pollution from one place to another place. Okay, so it's very important to understand how air pollution or any kind of air pollutant are transporting from one place to another place. Different meteorological parameters, atmospheric conditions are responsible for such kind of transportation. Okay, so after the emission of the pollutant, once the pollutant or once there is a air pollution, then it will be transported, dispersed, and the concentrated by the meteorological condition. Okay, pollution may be emitted from the vehicle, it may be emitted from natural processes, it may be emitted from anthropogenic processes. Okay, once the pollution or different air pollutants are emitted from the source of their origin, then it will be transported, it will be dispersed, and it will be concentrated over a area because of different meteorological condition. That's why you can feel that in case of forest fire, the smog and other pollutants is transported from the forest to the urban area, or in case of, you can say, when there is a volcanic eruption. Okay, after the volcanic eruption, the toxic gases, different kinds of pollutants, different types of particles are transported from the place of the volcanic eruption to the nearby urban area. So that is because of the meteorological condition. Different meteorological parameters, different atmospheric conditions are such that they helps to transport, dispersed, or concentration of different types of pollutants over the nearby area. Okay, so this is the normally this is the structure of our atmosphere. As we know that the entire atmosphere around Earth is divided into different components. It is starting from troposphere, then stratosphere, mesosphere, and ionosphere. Okay, so these are the general categorization of our atmosphere. It was already discussed with all of you that what are the conditions and what are the properties of different atmospheric layers. So troposphere is the lowest layer of our atmosphere. Its height is around 18 kilometer. Then stratosphere is having 50 kilometer from the Earth's surface. Then mesosphere and the ionosphere is the uppermost atmospheric parameter or uppermost atmospheric layer of our atmosphere. So this is the major categorization of different atmospheric layers around the Earth's surface. Okay, so now this is also a different kind of subdivision of atmosphere. Okay, and that was the major atmospheric categorization. Now we are having some other kind of atmospheric categorization. Here in this figure you see troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and exosphere. Okay, so this ionosphere, the ionosphere may be categorized into two types, that is thermosphere and the exosphere. Okay, so this is the major, this is subdivision of the uppermost atmosphere, subdivision of the ionosphere, which is the uppermost atmosphere of our Earth. Okay, so the stratosphere is the next layer of the air, and it is extended from the troposphere to the approximately 50 kilometer above the Earth's surface. While this layer contains very little moisture, it does not contain another very important component, ozone. Okay, ozone is very important for our Earth. Ozone layer helps us to prevent the ultraviolet radiation, harmful ultraviolet radiation. Okay, so the stratosphere is having the ozone layer. Stratosphere is having ozone gas. All the ozone layer is composed into the stratosphere, and its height is around 50 kilometer from the Earth surface. Okay, and it is having very little amount of the moisture, and also it contains very important component of our environment, very important component for the human life on the Earth surface, that is ozone layer. Ozone layer prevents the harmful ultraviolet X-rays coming from the solar sun radiation or coming from the sun, so that we are safe on the Earth. Okay, so this is the process, this is the layers of the stratosphere. stratosphere are having different subdivision. Stratosphere are having different kinds of component. Stratosphere is extending from the mesosphere, followed by the uppermost layer of the atmosphere, the thermosphere. More than 99.9% of the atmospheric gases lie below the thermosphere. Okay, so the entire stratosphere having some kind of clouds, then it is having ozone layer. Aircrafts also fly in this stratosphere. So this is the variation of different atmosphere. In case of altitude, you see here, these are the variation in the altitudes. It is divided into 5 kilometer interval: 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 kilometers. Okay, so stratosphere is very important part of our atmosphere, and it contains almost all the ozone gas, and also different kinds of clouds, different types of other phenomena occurs in the stratosphere. So this is the air pollutant cycle. Once the pollution is emitted from the source, or after the emission of different kinds of air pollutant, these are the cycle of the air pollution or pollutants. You can say air pollutants. It is having a cycle: transport, diffusion, or emission. Emission, transportation, and diffusion. First step is emission. After emission, it will be transported, and after the transportation from one place to another place, it may be diffused or concentrated over a area near to that origin. Okay, so deposition onto the vegetation, livestock, soil, water, or escape into the space. It may be deposited on the vegetation, it may be deposited on the soil, it may be deposited on the water, and there is a possibility that it may be escaped from the atmosphere into the space. So this is the entire cycle of the air pollutant. Okay, so today we will first start with the first part of the atmospheric cycle, or first part of the emission of the air pollutant, like transport. Okay, transport means the movement of the pollutants from one place to another place. Okay, it means you can say that how different kinds of pollutants are moving from their source of origin to the nearby place. It may undergo different physical and chemical changes, like smoke. Smoke is formed because of the interaction of nitrous oxide, Hc, and the solar energy, and it may also be responsible for the formation of ozone. Different chemical changes are responsible for the ozone formation. As we know that ozone is formed due to the chemical reaction of oxygen molecules with the another oxygen molecule. The formula for ozone is O3. O3 means it is having three molecules of the oxygen. Okay, so when oxygen present in the atmosphere interacts with another oxygen molecule, it will be it will go under the chemical process, and then ozone molecule will be formed, that is O3. So transport means the movement of different air pollutants, or movement of the pollution from their place of origin, or you can say from their source of origin, to the nearby area. Now, there is another term: concentration and dispersion. Disperse based on the meteorological and topographic condition. Concentration usually is stagnant condition. Dispersion means because of different topological conditions, it may be affected by the presence of large buildings, meteorological conditions, and wind speed and direction is also responsible for the dispersion of different air pollutants. The pollutants disperse over the large geographic area because of the wind speed, or because of different meteorological conditions. Okay, a place or any city or any nearby area receives a high amount of pollutants, high concentration of pollutants from different sources in different amount. So it is very important to understand how these kind of pollutants are dispersed from one place to another place, and then on that basis we can easily predict the concentration of different kinds of pollutants, different kinds of air pollutants. So concentration means when uh, air pollutant is dispersed, or when the air pollutant is uh, uh, you can say the dispersion means concentration means it is deposited. Concentration means When the air pollutants, different kinds of pollutions are deposited on different vegetation, different earth surface features, it may be affecting the water, it may be affecting the soil. So this is known as the concentration and dispersion. After the emission, it is transported, and after the transportation from one place to another place, it will be concentrated over a large area, over a large geographic area, and it will be deposited on the vegetation, soil, it may be deposited on water surface, etc. Okay. Prediction. So for predicting the level of concentration, or for predicting the movement of different air pollutants, we need some mathematical models. These mathematical models uses the local atmospheric condition, local atmospheric parameter to determine the transport and dispersion pattern. Okay, so with the emission data, we can easily predict how much pollutants will be concentrated throughout the region. Okay, first we need to know the amount of the emitted pollutant, how much pollutant are emitted from the source. After getting the amount of the emitted pollutant, we can easily predict the amount of the concentration throughout the region, and it should correlate with the data from different monitoring stations, and that may be affected the source and estimated a regulation set. So prediction is important to understand to, or to study the amount of the concentration. But before that, we need to know how much pollutant have been emitted from their source. So on that basis, you can easily predict the level of concentration. You can easily predict the amount of concentration over a large area using some mathematical models. These mathematical models are based on local atmospheric condition. It may be based on the wind speed, it may be considering the wind speed, or you can say the precipitation, it may consider the temperature. Different local atmospheric condition helps us to mathematically model the emitted data, emitted pollutant, to predict the concentration throughout the region. Dispersion means it's generally the air motion, how the pollution or how different kinds of air pollutants are moving throughout the air. It's a kind of turbulent velocity fluctuation. The diffusion is due to the concentration gradient from the clumps. Aerodynamic characteristics of the pollution particle depends on the size, shape, and the weight. Okay, the size, shape, and weight of different air pollutants are responsible for its movement. Okay, light particles or lightweight particles, small sized particles, can easily move from one place to another place, whereas the high weight particles cannot move freely from one place to another place. So size, shape, and weight of different air pollutants are very important to study the dispersion process, or to study the motion of different pollutants throughout the air or in the atmosphere. These are important meteorological parameters. These parameters affects the movement of air pollution from one place to another place. These are the parameters that affecting the concentration of air pollutants over a region. It is known as wind direction, wind speed, solar radiation, atmospheric stability, temperature, and mixing height. Okay, these are very important meteorological parameters. All these here, these meteorological parameters directly affects the movement of the air pollution. How much air pollution will be moved from one place to another place, what will be the concentration of the air pollution or different pollutants over that region. It depends on the wind direction, wind speeds, and the amount of solar radiation, the atmospheric stability, temperature, and the height. So now we will see one by one what is the importance and what is the role of wind direction and wind speed in the air transportation or transportation of the air pollutants. Okay, it's an average over a year. The solar heat flow to the Earth's surface at equator, that is approximately 2.4 times larger than at poles. Air moves in response to the differences. The heat transports from the equator to the poles like the air circulation from a heater in a room, and it is without the rotation. The amount of air flows directly from the height to the low pressure area is known as FP. So it's very important to see that the wind direction or the air circulation is responsible for the transportation of the heat from the equator to the poles. Okay, the overall you can say that the wind is moving from equator to the poles, and the entire air pollutant or different kinds of pollutions, different kinds of heat and atmospheric particles or dust particles is transporting from the equator to the poles. It's a kind of air circulation from a heater in a room. So when you use a heater in a room, after some time the entire room is heated. That is because of the air circulation throughout the room. In the same way, and the atmospheric condition, the wind direction, wind speed circulates or responsible for the movement of different air pollutants from the equator to the poles. So this is the wind direction. Wind direction is wind always moves from high pressure region to the low pressure region. Okay, so the air flows directly from high to low pressure areas, and that is the responsible, that is the region behind the movement or transportation of the air pollutants from the equator to the poles. Okay, equators are having high pressure region and the poles are having low pressure region. So the air is circulated, the wind may be circulated from the equator to the poles because of the movement of air, because of the movement of different air pollutants or different kinds of dust particles, different kinds of air pollution particles from the high pressure area to the low pressure area, that you call it as a from equator to the poles. Okay, this is the figure showing the air circulation in a room heated by an electric heater. This is a single circulation cell rising at the heater and descending at the cold wall. So this is the way how your room will be heated when you use heater in winter season. In winter season, when anyone use heater, so because of the air circulation throughout the room, the entire room will be heated. That's the simplest example of the circulation of heat or the circulation of air from the source of origin to throughout the region. In the same way, the pollutants or different kinds of dust particles, different types of aerosol and different kinds of other atmospheric particles moves from the equator to the poles. That is known as the, you can say that's a transportation of the air pollutant. Wind circulation is very important. Wind circulation is rising air cool and produces the rain. It's a sinking air that is heated and becomes dry. The rising boundaries are the regions of higher than average rainfall. Okay, like equator, rainforest, and the temperate forest. Sinking boundaries are the regions of the lower than the average rainfall. So most of the areas, most of the deserts area in the world, they are having very sinking boundaries from the lower than the average rainfall. Poles are having a small amount of the precipitation remains due to the low evaporation. Okay, north pole and south poles are having very less amount of the precipitation because of the low evaporation process, whereas near to the equator we are having the higher rate of the evaporation that are responsible for the high precipitation near to the equator. Okay, so this is because of the wind circulation. Wind always rises from cool air to the hot air that produces the rain, and it is a sinking air that is heated and becomes dry. This is the sinking boundaries. How you see how the equator and the poles are having low pressure and high pressure area. So near to the equator you are having the wind circulation from the high pressure to the low pressure area. Okay, and on the poles it is having the high pressure areas and low pressure area both, but its circulation pattern is different in comparison to the circulation pattern at the equators. So these are the sinking boundaries. Sinking boundaries means when the air circulation are in the anti-clockwise rotation in comparison to the clockwise rotation of the air circulation on the equators. Okay, so this is the reason why the poles are not having high amount of precipitation, and equators or the areas near to equator, they are having high precipitation, high amount of the rainfall. This is also very important to know the inertial atmospheric rotation. This is the figure showing the inertial circles of the air masses in the absence of other forces. It's a kind of air circulation throughout the globe, throughout the earth. It is calculated for a wind speed of approximately 50 to 70 kilometer miles per second. It is very important to note that the rotation is exactly opposite of the normally dispersed with air masses in the weather system around the depressions. So, because of some atmospheric rotation, or you can say the internal atmospheric rotation, that is also responsible for the circulation of the airflow throughout the globe. This is known as inertial atmospheric rotation. Low pressure area flow. What is the flow of the uh, air temperature? What is the flow of the air from the low pressure area? So this is the figure showing how there is a flow around the low pressure area in the northern hemisphere. The Because of this low pressure area, there is a pressure gradient forces that is represented by the blue arrows, that is known as Coriolis accelerator. It's always perpendicular to the red arrows. So as we know that air always moves from high pressure area to low pressure area. So this movement, this process is known as Coriolis process, Coriolis effect, and this Coriolis effect may also be known as the Coriolis accelerator. And the blue lines are showing the Coriolis accelerator. Here in the figure, the blue lines are showing the Coriolis accelerator, and these are always perpendicular to the red arrows. Red arrows are the low pressure areas in the northern hemisphere. So this is the way how the air is circulated from a high pressure area to low pressure area. That's why on the poles we are having very less amount of the rainfall, very less amount of the precipitation in comparison to the nearby area to the equator. Low pressure system is also responsible for the formation of this hurricanes and cyclones. If a low pressure area forms in the atmosphere, the air will tend to flow in towards it, but will be deflected perpendicular to its velocity by the Coriolis force. This low pressure system over the island spins counterclockwise due to the balance between the Coriolis force and the pressure gradient force. Okay, sometimes on the earth's surface or sometimes near to the equator, there is low pressure area formed. Because of this low pressure area, there may be the formation of cyclones and hurricanes over the sea surface or over the ocean surface, oceans. Hurricanes are also a kind of cyclone. It may be generally found in the South American or American continent. Okay, this is a kind of cyclone. Its name is hurricane. It's a specific name given to the cyclone because it originated only near to the South American and American continent. Isobar are the areas of having equal pressure throughout the atmosphere or during the during the circulation of air. If there is a condition that there may be the equal pressure in that area, that will be known as isobar. Isobar means the area on the earth surface, the area in the atmosphere where pressure is equal, then it is known as isobar. Sometimes because of the difference between the low pressure region and high pressure region, in between that region there may be the area of having equal pressure. That areas of having equal pressure are known as isobars. Okay. The influence of the ground and the sea. So in reality, land and water do not respond to solar heating, and similarly terrain or earth surface is uneven. As we know that earth surface is having different kinds of landscape. It's uneven surface. Entire earth surface is uneven in terms of different features, different earth surface features. The highest mountains rise above most of the atmosphere. The large mountains ranges are major boundaries to the horizontal winds. Even small mountain ranges the influence wind pattern. So because of the variation over the earth's surface, because of the uneven terrain over the earth, different parts of the earth may have different kinds of atmospheric condition, different kinds of atmospheric pressure and precipitation. Water absorbs and transfers the heat directly from the rock and soil. Rock and soil radiate the heat differently summer to the winter. Some kind of rocks absorbs energy, some type of rocks emit the heat immediately after the absorption of the rock. And soil is also having the property of radiating the heat in summer as well as in the winter season. Vertical motion means the any parcel of the air less dense than the surrounding air will rise by the buoyancy. Any parcel more dense will sink. Most vertical movement is due to the changes in air density. The pressure at any point in the atmosphere is known as the pressure that is required to support everything above that point. So this is the vertical motion. In some cases, different air parcels are very less dense in comparison to its surrounding area. If a air parcel or air column, you can say the air column is having very less density in comparison to its surrounding area, then it may be known as the vertical motion. And these kind of uh, parcels, these kind of air columns will sink more in comparison to the highly dense air parcels. And because of this, the pressure at any point in the atmosphere will be considered as the pressure that is required to support everything above that point. Solar radiation, as all we know that sun always emit different kinds of electromagnetic radiation, electromagnetic heat. Okay, the amount of the electromagnetic radiation coming from the sun is known as solar radiation. The entire electromagnetic radiation is having different components, having different wavelength intervals. Okay, so the upper atmosphere of the upper atmosphere or the upper boundary of the atmosphere having direct contact with the solar radiation. The vertical solar radiation is having the amount of around 8.16 joules per centimeter. Okay, so the maximum intensity of the solar radiation will be considered at the wavelength between zero point 0.4 to zero point 0.8 micrometer. This wavelength interval is for the visible portion of the electromagnetic radiation, electromagnetic spectrum. The visible portion of the electromagnetic spectrum are considered as blue, green, and red. So the maximum intensity of solar radiation can be found or at this wavelength interval. This is known as visible portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. Means it is having the wavelength intervals for blue, green, and red. That is a part of visible portion of the electromagnetic radiation. The entire solar radiation or the entire electromagnetic radiation coming from the sun is having 42% of the energy in the visible portion. It absorbed by the higher atmosphere, and most of the visible portion of the electromagnetic radiation, either it will be blue, green, or red, it will be reflected by the clouds. There may be different kinds of scattering mechanism in the atmosphere. Scattering means when the solar radiation interacts with the atmospheric particles, it will be scattered in different directions. Because of this, the energy will be scattered in all the directions equally. And in atmosphere there are three kinds of scattering: relay scattering, Mie scattering, and the non-selective scattering. So the amount of solar radiation, or the, you can say, the energy coming from the sun interacts with the atmosphere or interacts with the upper atmosphere. Some part of the solar radiation will be absorbed, some part of the solar radiation will be reflected by the cloud into the space again. Some part of the solar radiation, some part of the electromagnetic radiation coming from the sun, it is scattered by the atmospheric particles. Okay, and some part can pass through the atmosphere and will reach to the earth surface. Again, on the earth surface, some portion of the electromagnetic radiation is absorbed by the earth surface materials, and some portion will be reflected by different earth surface materials or earth surface features. Okay, like water absorbs the solar radiation. So water doesn't reflect any type of solar radiation. Water absorbs all this solar radiation, but the rocks and soil, different kinds of vegetation, or you can say the snow and ice, they are the properties of the reflection of the incoming solar radiation. Okay, so the total amount of the energy which is coming from the solar radiation is having 42% in the form of visible portion. That energy will interact with the atmosphere, will be reflected, will be back scattered and absorbed by the atmospheric particles, and it will reach on the earth surface, and again it will be reflected and absorbed by the earth surface features. So there is 47% of the total solar radiation will be absorbed by different land surface features, different earth surface features, or the water. So it's depending on the location. The solar radiation pronounced the effect on type as the rate of chemical radiation in the atmosphere. Photochemical smog formation at the Los Angeles. Okay, so this depends on the location. At some location there are the high concentration of the atmospheric particles. At some places there may be the low concentration of the atmospheric particle. Depending on this, the solar radiation interacts with different atmospheric particles, and it will be produced in different kinds of materials or different kinds of processes. Okay. Lapse rate, it's very important characteristics of our atmosphere. Its ability to resist the vertical motion, means it is the measurement of the stability of our atmosphere. It affects the ability to disperse the pollutants. When a small volume of air is displaced upwards, it encounters the lower pressure and expands to the lower temperature. So how the dispersion of pollutants are there, how much dispersion is occurring at the surface of the earth or at the surface of the atmosphere, it is known as lapse rate. Okay, so it encounters the lower pressure, it will be expanded to the lower temperature, and it is assumed that the heat is not transferred to the surrounding atmosphere. It is called as the condition of adiabatic expansion. Okay, adiabatic expansion means there is no transfer of the heat throughout the atmosphere, there is no transfer of the heat in surrounding atmosphere. That is the condition of the lapse rate. Lapse rate means how stable is your atmosphere, and what is the stability of atmosphere. Stability means how much heat or how much pollutants are dispersed or how much pollutants are transported from one place to another place. That will tell us the stability of our atmosphere or the our you can say the environment. Okay. So adiabatic expansion is used to determine the change in the temperature with respect to the elevation. The atmosphere, considered as a stationary column of the air in the gravitational field, the gas is a dry ideal gas. So this is the formula which is used to calculate the adiabatic expansion. Okay, this is the adiabatic expansion. Adiabatic expansion is considered as the amount of the atmospheric column of the air in the gravitational field. So this is the formula written here. In the formula, T is temperature, Z is the vertical distance in the atmosphere, G is the acceleration due to gravity, P is the atmospheric density, V is the volume per unit of the mass, and Cp is the heat capacity of the gas at the constant pressure. Okay, so now more about this adiabatic expansion. Like if the volume of the parcel of air is held constant, and there is an incremental amount of the heat that is added to the parcel, the temperature of the parcel will rise by an amount dt. That may be resulted in the temperature produces a rise in the pressure according to the ideal gas law. If the parcel is allowed to expand in volume and have a change in the temperature while holding the pressure constant, the parcel will expand or contrast and increase or decrease in the temperature. So parcel rises or falls accordingly with respect to the volume of the air parcel in the atmosphere. So the unit for adiabatic expansion in centimeter Celsius per meter. Okay, this is the SI unit, and in American unit it will be considered in the foot feet. Okay, so this is the change in the temperature with the height. This is the rate of the change of temperature with change in the height. This is dt by dz. Okay, so dt by dz is equal to minus 0.0098 c plus c per meter. That is the column, air column per meter. And in American standards it will be considered as Fahrenheit temperature per feet. Okay, Celsius and Fahrenheit, both are the measurements of the temperature. And these are the formula, these are the constant values that is showing the change in the temperature with the change in the height. Lapse rate is the negative for temperature gradient. For dry adiabatic lapse rate, its value is around -1, and in SI unit its value will be minus 5.4 Fahrenheit per 1000 feet. International lapse rate is now having different values. Its value is around minus 6.49 degree Celsius per kilometer. Okay, or you can call it as 0.65 degree Celsius per 100 meter. In American standards, in American units, it will be considered as minus 3.45 Fahrenheit per 1000 feet. So there is about 66% of the adiabatic lapse rate. Lapse rate, this is an example of lapse rate. It is important to note here that in case of lapse rate example, we should assume the surface temperature is around 15 at the surface of the earth. So what is the temperature at the height of 5510 meter? So this is the solution, this is the way how we can use the formulae, how we can use different kinds of lapse rate using the formula which is already written here. So these are the values. If we are having these kind of values, we are having the surface temperature, we are having the height, so and we are having the constant value. So on that basis, using the formula, we can calculate the lapse rate over that study area, over that region. So there may be also the temperature change due to the atmospheric height. As per the atmospheric height, or as per the layers in the atmosphere changes, there may be the change in the temperature. Temperature directly affects, or you can say temperature is directly affected by the layers in the atmosphere. The atmospheric heights affects the temperature or change in the temperature. So the lapse rate for the standard atmosphere, it is having troposphere, that is having the range 0 to 36,150 feet. The temperature decreases linearly, and 75% of the atmospheric masses will be in the troposphere. It's not applicable above the troposphere. The temperature change is having maximum impact in the troposphere, and after the troposphere there may not be the high change, there may not be the very high change in the temperature. And in stratosphere, the temperature changes between the range of 36,150 to 65,800 feet. The temperature does not decrease further with the increasing height. There may be some chemical reaction occur to absorb the heat from the sun, and there is adiabatic assumption is not followed in the stratosphere. So this is the figure showing the comparison of the temperature elevation relation in adiabatic atmosphere and the standard atmosphere. So this is the figure showing how the temperature is changing with the elevation values, how at different elevation there may be the different temperature, there may be some changes in the temperature in case of adiabatic atmosphere and the standard atmospheric condition. Okay, so these are some mathematical examples of the calculation of lapse rate, and for that you need to remember the formula which I have already discussed in the previous slides. And on the basis of the formulae for the lapse rate, you can easily calculate the amount of the lapse rate in the atmosphere and you can also calculate the rate of the change of temperature with respect to the elevation value. Thank you very much for today's class, and we will discuss the remaining part of the today's lecture in the next class. Thank you very much for your patience listening, and if you have any question, then you can ask for that. Thank you very much.